Julius Malema stormed Ghana to deliver one of his powerful speeches in Accra, and as usual, he did not disappoint. He decided not to spare anyone, including the current Ghanaian leadership. Let's watch this video. I will be back.
Nkrumah did not only develop connections amongst African state and liberation movements. Nkrumah developed connections with African American artists, writers, and all kind of people who were found in diaspora. That's why a lot of African Americans found resonance and found Ghana to be a place they can identify with as their home. So Nkrumah's idea has always been that black people who are found everywhere must always be in solidarity with each other, because they are the most hated people all over the world. It doesn't matter where you find them. If you find a black person in China, give them love, because you must know they are hated. If you find a black person in the US or even in Russia, you must embrace one another irrespective of the countries you come from, because you are both hated. It doesn't matter how rich you are. It doesn't matter how educated you are. As long as you are an African, they treat you like a reject. That's why the unity of Africans and Pan-Africanism does not only mean those who are found in Africa. It means everybody else that looks African, who's found everywhere in the corner of the world, because those are the people who have been robbed of their humankind. We also know that this country is the one that leads with successful succession, which are peaceful. Of course, it experienced a bit of difficulty at some point, but since then, Ghana became the most celebrated democracy. But the democracy of Ghana is threatened by corruption, a corruption that made sure that Ghana does not pay its international debt. As a result, today, Ghana is unable to self-determine, because everything else is dictated to Ghana by IMF and the World Bank, because the current leadership failed to honor their obligation. It's a threat to a wonderful democracy anyway, because it's eating on the moral fiber of democratic dispensation. We must never ever celebrate anyone who is corrupt or seek to defend the corrupt individuals, irrespective of our political affiliation. Those who are stealing from the public purse now, they are stealing from the future. That's why they are unable to pay the debt now, and they will not be able to pay the debt in future. And it is you, the youth of Africa, that are going to inherit the debt, and you will not be able to develop your own countries. There is a tendency in the African continent of the youth defending the old corrupt, because they give them the little money now and they forget the future. If you value yourself, if you value the future of this continent, you must stand tall and unashamedly fight corruption everywhere where it raises its ugly head. Don't care who says what. You must always speak truth to power. It doesn't matter who gets offended. The truth remains the truth, whether you are standing, whether you are sitting, whether you are sleeping, the truth will never change. And one thing you must know is that when you tell the truth to the powers that be, they may pretend now that they do not hear what you are saying. But when they are sleeping alone, their conscience speaks to them, and they must answer the question, is he or she telling the truth? And if the answer is yes, you have achieved your mission. They will never know they are corrupt until someone tells them on their faces that you are for yourself, you are for your family, you are for friends, you are for the politically connected, and you are not for our continent, because our continent is about the unity of African people that is based on economic ownership of the means of production. I want to say this today here, that xenophobic people are people who suffer from self-hate. Because when you love yourself, you will never hate another person. A black person who looks like you should serve as a mirror to you. When you look at that black person, you must see yourself. And therefore, you cannot say the people from Ivory Coast are not needed here in Ghana. They are taking our jobs and our opportunities, because there is no Ivory Coast, there is no Ghana. There is no Nigeria, there is no South Africa. There is no Liberia, there is no Botswana. There is Africa. Because we never determined these artificial borders. Some people went to sit somewhere and decided to divide us. And they did that with a pen and took away our brains, because there is no wall. In other places there is no fence, yet we see the wall and the fence that doesn't exist. We are unable to break these imaginary artificial borders, because our boss told us that we are divided. We are being treated like mad people, where you've got a gate without a fence. All of you, when you want to exit to Ivory Coast, you go to a border, and that border is a gate. But when you check on the side of the gate, there is no fence. Our people are living together. So Africa must stop behaving like a drunken master who goes through a gate in a yard that doesn't have a fence. It will never have a fence, because we are one thing. We marry into each other's communities and families. We go to each other's activities. We share cultures. And I know for sure that the people of Ghana dance to Amapiano. So why would they think that they are not South Africans, and why South Africans will think that they are not Ghanaians? It's only an imagination that was instilled in our heads by our colonial masters. We have to make sure that as a new generation, we do away with this. We, as a younger generation of Africa, we must not seek to get rid of the old in a disparate manner to a point where we destroy institutional memory. We must always make sure that the old coexist with the young, but the old must be prepared to pass the wisdom to the young ones. For because at some point, the old must die for the new to emerge. And it's not me calling for the killing of the elderly African leadership. Nature dictates that the old at some point must die for the new to emerge. But this new must be prepared to learn from the old. I was in Liberia yesterday, and I saw the inauguration of an old president. I got so worried. But when I saw the vice president, I left Liberia in a very comfortable way, because I saw a generational mix where the old and the young coexist in one office. And I hope the vice president will not be suffocated, because the president must know that with all his experience and advanced age, he has a duty to pass the baton to the younger generation. We call on all African leaders not to leave an office with a coffin. When the time comes for them to go, they must leave without calling the army to extend their term. No one is born a leader. No one is a traditional leader in a political office. If you want to be a traditional leader, go and fight in your tribe for those type of issues. We don't subscribe to people who want to leave a political office with a coffin. We will still give you a state funeral because you are a former president. We will still pay you pensions and give you protection and take care of you as long as you respect those who came after you. You have to ensure that democracy matures in such a manner in Africa, where the previous president does not make it his business to fight the current president. You must allow the new to lead with all their faults because you are the same. It doesn't mean you are perfect. The young ones who are coming after you will challenge the current one. No African leader who is on retirement should lead from the grave. They must all be like all other progressive former presidents who are statesmen at home, waiting for courtesy visits and consultation and attending to honor state functions. Those are the duties of former presidents, because Africa must be stable. Africa must go through democracy at all times. And elections in Africa should never mean the blood on the floor. We Africans must hate seeing our own blood. We must always protect each other because we love ourselves so much that we don't want to see our own blood. I always tell them that white people do not want to see their own blood. That's why it's not easy for a white person to kill another white person. If a well-built white man comes in here and beat you up and you are thin like me, don't try to fight fiscal because you're going to be defeated. They are scared of their blood. Look for an object and threaten to throw that object on a white man. Is going to leave this wall running. Not because he's scared of the object, but he knows that he can be injured by the object and he will see his own blood. Africans don't have a problem with seeing their own blood. We kill each other at the slightest provocation. We don't negotiate power. We force our way into power. And in most cases, we are not even the initiators of this violence. It is white people who sponsor the black on black violence. Because of the absence of black consciousness, we find it easy to kill one another. The killings must stop in Africa. In Africa, guns must be replaced by hugs. When we see each other, even when we disagree vehemently, we must agree to disagree in a brotherly and sisterly way because we value each other's blood. Ghanaians, we must make sure that we refuse the suppression of media freedom, because without media freedom, we are nothing. If there is anyone who can tell the world of any wrongdoing in Ghana and in South Africa and everywhere else, is the fourth estate. It must be protected. It doesn't matter how bad they write about you. You must protect their right to write. Because without that pen, you must know there is an ushering in of a dictatorship. If media is suppressed, if media can't write about corruption, if media takes bribes from governments, you must know those are the dark days of the African continent. Today, we've got our own platforms on the social media. Let us help the traditional media to expose the corrupt leadership, to expose the mining companies that milk Africa without leaving anything in Africa. The gold of Ghana must remain in Ghana and service the people of Ghana. The minerals of Ghana, the minerals of South Africa must service Africa. The EFF believes in one Africa where we've got one president. I know Kwame Nkrumah was accused of wanting to be a president of Africa. There was nothing wrong with that. The man qualified because he woke us up from the dead. We'll continue Kwame Nkrumah's call. Even if we don't achieve it in our lifetime, we must create a solid foundation for one Africa, because one Africa is a threat to Europe and America. Africa with one president, Africa with one currency, Africa with one military command, Africa with one parliament. It's a threat that America cannot stand. Imagine a currency of Africa against the currency of USA. Ours will be based on the natural and mineral resources of our continent. And what will the currency of France be based on? Because France can't even produce anything for its survival. The whole soccer team of France is Africa. That's why when France plays with Britain, we all unwittingly support France because we see the blackness of the team. That's how much important we are as Africa to this Europe, America, and all those who support neocolonialism. Fellow Ghanaians, anyone who says the people of Palestine must be killed is an enemy of ours. The people of Palestine have not committed any sin to anyone. These organizations that got passports here in Ghana during colonial times and during apartheid times, they were called terrorist organizations. But to us, they were never terrorist organizations. They were revolutionary organizations that seek the liberation of our own countries. We cannot listen to the same propaganda that was used against us during the years of liberation. Kwame Nkrumah was called a terrorist. Nelson Mandela is still on the list of terrorists in USA because they fought for the self-determination of Africans. That's exactly what Hamas is demanding. That let the people of Palestine reclaim their own land. Let the people of Palestine have the self-determination without anyone imposing anything to the people of Palestine. If the people of Palestine want two-state solution, let them say so. No one must meet in UN or everywhere else and say there's going to be a two-state solution in Palestine. It must be the Palestinians themselves, like the South Africans decided that we are going to coexist with the settlers. We will not send them to the sea. It was not a decision of the UN. It was a conscious decision by South Africans. Why are the Palestinians not allowed to make the same self-determination? Shame on the leadership of Ghana for saying they support what is happening against the people of Gaza. They must be ashamed of themselves, because any African who knows what settlers do when they settle in your country will never support that nonsense that is happening in Palestine. Ghanaians, we are not saying we are fighting the Jews. We are not saying Jewish women must be killed, Jewish children must be killed. Our struggle is against apartheid Israel, and we make no apology about that. And we want the apartheid of Israel collapsed with the immediate effect. We salute the government of South Africa for having listened to the EFF when we said that the Israeli ambassador and embassy must be removed from South Africa. Parliament of South Africa, through a motion placed by the EFF, took a resolution that Israeli embassy must leave South Africa because we cannot share the territory with bloody, thirsty individuals who have declared war on humanity. What is happening in Palestine is genocide. It has got no any other name. You can't bomb a hospital. Even if the leader of Hamas is in that hospital, as long as he enters a hospital, you must cease fire and wait and work on an alternative solution to get him out of a hospital. You cannot bomb a refugee camp because there are international laws that governs how you treat refugee camps. Even when you don't agree with Hamas or any other thing of that nature. But please protect humanity. We need all those who want to give humanitarian support to be given a passage to enter Gaza, to send water, to send food, to send medical equipment and medicine in Gaza. Israel is refusing a passage for humanitarian intervention in Gaza. And every individual who's self-respecting, especially ourselves as Africans, can never agree with a country that can refuse people water, because water is life. Ghanaians, the unity of this continent starts from here, because the determination, the self-determination of Africa started from here. When you got your first independence, we knew that day, that one day South Africa will be free. And when Frelimo won in Mozambique, we celebrated in South Africa as if that was our freedom. But we knew that the freedom of the people of Mozambique means the freedom of South Africa, because that's how we are connected. We celebrate each other's achievement. It started here in Ghana, it ended in South Africa. The unity of Africa must start here in Ghana, and will capture it in South Africa, because we always followed the leadership of the Ghanaian people. The economic freedom of Africa will start in South Africa. We want our land. We make no apology when we say we want our land. Our land was stolen, and we want it back without paying a cent. And no one must pay for a cent everywhere in Africa when they demand the expropriation of land without compensation. These people came and stole your car, and later on you discover your car. They say, it's true, it's your car, but pay us before you get this car back. And when you ask them why you're saying I must pay, they say, we have put Mac wheels, we have improved the car, therefore you must pay us, irrespective of them being in possession of stolen property. Anyone in possession of stolen property is a criminal. And therefore, anyone in possession of our land without our permission is a land thief, is a criminal, and must be identified as such. When I say to you, demand the land, and will lead that struggle from South Africa, I know land brings about everything. For you to have a hair salon, you need land. For you to have a small shop of IT, you need land. The beautiful beaches belongs to the land. The mineral resources, the gold, iron ore, copper, and all types of mineral resources belong to the land. That's why when they came to Africa, they did not steal our women or our men. They stole the land. They knew women and men will come with the land. That's why we need to start from where they started when they offended us. We need to take the land, because once we take the land, they will start respecting us. You will never be respected if you don't own property. It doesn't matter if all of us in South Africa own property. As long as the people of Namibia as long as the people of Ghana do not own the land, then our land ownership is meaningless, because when you go to the USA, they don't see South African, they see an African. Whereas they can't differentiate between South Africa and Ghana. That's why all of us must reclaim the land and the mineral resources of the land and the natural resources of the land, so that when we move all over the world, when they see a black person, they should know these are the property owners of their own continent and their own land. So when we fight for economic freedom, we should do so without being ashamed. Because political freedom that Kwame Nkrumah achieved and generations after him achieved is meaningless without economic freedom. You can vote until you are purple. As long as there is no bread on the table, that vote is meaningless. You must vote when you arrive at home. You must find bread, you must find free education, you must find quality public health, you must find reliable electricity, and not what we experienced earlier on. We must make sure that we own everything that belongs to us. So Africans, I don't care how many we are, we must believe in ourselves. At least be an individually liberated African who is not scared of colonizers, who is not scared of white people, who doesn't worship the establishment, who calls a spade a spade. That is the only way Africa will be respected. This continent is one. They might think they divided it. I can guarantee you now, like we saw when Ghana got liberated in South Africa, we said one day it will happen. It came many years after, but eventually it came. The unity of this continent is going to come. And when we call on each other to come into each other's countries, we must embrace that with ease. Me being here in Ghana, I don't feel like I'm in a different country. Because in this world, there is nothing different I'm not used to in South Africa. When I look at left or right, I see my brothers and sisters. When I walk outside and drive all over, I see the poverty of Africa that I see at home. So why would I claim I'm in a different home? Because conditions are the same. So when I'm here, I'm at home. When you are in South Africa, feel at home. South Africans are not xenophobic. South Africans are peace-loving people, and I extend my invitation to all of you to come and study in South Africa, to come and work in South Africa, to come and take your holidays in South Africa, because it is your home too. The same way you welcomed us here, we'll welcome you in South Africa. Thank you very much.
That was a great speech from Julius Malema. That was a very, very, how should I put it, strong and brave speech from him. And this speech is from his recent journey to Ghana. He traveled to Ghana. He traveled to Liberia to attend the new elected president of Liberia. So after the inauguration, he decided to pass through Ghana to give this powerful speech. And we all agree that this is a speech of unity, a speech of encouragement, and a speech of advising those who are in the affairs of Ghana to put things in place for their citizens to flourish in the country, because at the end of the day, the amount of corruption that is happening in the country is affecting the development of Ghana. So this is a great speech. I saw some of the opposition parties in the crowd, the opposition party members in the crowd, and that's where I have a little problems with this opposition and the government. I don't know if they are the one who organized the show or organized the event, but in Ghana, this opposition are also part of why the country is not developing. Yes, the opposition is also part of the government because the same opposition has been in power. That is the National Democratic Congress. They have been in power for 27 to 29 years, and current government has also ruled Ghana for, I think they are in their 16th year. So these opposition members who are in this particular crowd has contributed the failure of Ghana more than the current government. They are one corrupted people whom, that's the fact, whom has also contributed immensely why Ghana has never developed. So they shouldn't be attending Pan-African speech like Julius Malema, PLO Lumumba, and all these great leaders. And they shouldn't be pretending like they are Pan-Africanists. They are all part of our problems. They may come to power by the end of this year or early next year, and I think they are not going to add anything. It's the same opposition who sent us to IMF. And this government came to power and came to remove us from IMF, and unfortunately, they have to take us back to IMF. So they are a coin. How do they put it? A coin in the same side. They are not different from the government in power. They are all the same. So they shouldn't be sitting there clapping like they don't know what is happening. They know the problems and they can't fix the problems because all of them are puppets. So we need a new force, or we need another force that can deliver what Ghanaians are yearning for, not this opposition party. It was a great speech and I really love it, but we have to be careful the people we deliver the speech to. Please join us on Telegram by clicking on my Telegram link in my description box, and join us as we discuss the well-being of Africa, and also subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification button so that anytime I upload any great content, you will be notified. Thanks for watching.